Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1 of not only KXP, but of the Janus project entirely. That's right, third person perspective is going to get a head start on the program by being able to be first up in line. And KXP POV will be following suit next Monday. So Mondays and Fridays, this is when we're going to be doing that. We also do RP1 on Wednesdays. And then on the weekend, we do Satisfactory and some other games. But for now, that's all you need to know. If you were sad that the KXP of previous had to be cut short, we are going to be continuing it on our members channel. And that's because it took a lot of work to get there. And I was really enjoying that. And I wanted to keep going myself. But it doesn't exactly fit into our weekly schedule. So we'll be doing it there. So check that out if you want. Anyways, we are going to be starting a new game. This is going to be KXP 2. And we are going to use the flags that I made as a mod. I'm just going to put it up here. I keep struggling every time I try to name it. But there you go. We are choosing the Karman flag for now. Once we start moving on to the MUN, we'll choose MUN flags, and so on and so forth. I'm going to go through the changes that I made here. I turned missing crew respawn off because I want our Kerbals to face their consequences of death. We also turn on that Kerbals level up immediately because I just feel that just makes sense. It's logical. There's no reason why a Kerbal could be out on a mission for a very long time and not understand the experience that they've made. Here, these are just the contract packs. I changed a few of them around just based on what we're going to want to do. And comets and asteroids we're not going to want to do. I did forget to leave on the rescue and recovery contracts, which is not going to be helpful. But yeah. Anyways, we're just going quickly to show you that I'm not really changing too much. Here on Crash, we did change the cost adjustment and the altitudes for the simulation. TAC life support we are going to enable, but we are going to turn it down to about roughly halfway of what the default is. After talking with a friend of ours, we decided that there's a need for realism. I want the challenge of TAC life support, but just simply the amount of life support required for just even the minimal missions ends up translating to really, really heavy crafts in later times. And I really want to spend a lot of time going to outer planets and well, just any of the other celestial bodies outside of Karman in the sphere of influence. So just giving ourselves a little bit of leeway on some of the stuff, the consumption rates and the max time without will help us out in that journey as well. But of course we are gonna make them die. We can't we're gonna live with those consequences. So there is that. I hope you're looking forward to that. On Tourism Expanded, we are going to turn off the deadlines. I commented about it later in later series and earlier series. And then on the vessel notes, we're turning on crewed kill and crew transfer. For some reason, those are checked off by default. But with that, we are going to start off KXP 2. So the first thing we have remote tech options. We're just going to go here. We're going to turn off throttle unaffected by, or turn on throttle unaffected by signal loss. We're going to turn off alarms being automatically added to Kerbal alarm clock. And then that is it. We have early bird. We don't really care about that. And earn your stripes. We are going to generate 4 random Kerbals instead of the traditional Jeb, Bill, Bob, and Val. So, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have all new faces, but that's okay. So first, let's just go ahead and grab our starting contracts to do some science. And unfortunately, I grabbed the wrong one. I choose this launch first vessel, but There was another one that could have been better utilized. But anyways, we're just going to skip ahead. It was just a really boring build, as you will see shortly. The probe required for our first amount of science is literally just a probe with some science tacked on it. So it'll be pretty easy enough. We press the action group to get it. We're going to just keep the experiment and recover the vessel. So 2.5 science isn't enough to get any kind of research unlocked. So we are, of course, going to need to launch our vessel. So we put 2 thermometers on there, and we're going to try to get as much science as possible with as little pieces that we have. All right, here we are with the first launch of the space race that is going to be called the Janus project. And already KXP is pulling ahead. They have the glory of taking first launch as a milestone. Transmitting the data because there is no parachute on this, so there's no way to safely recover it. I did forget to mention, we are using deferred lighting or deferred rendering, black racks, volumetric clouds, environmental visual enhancements, parallax 2, and something else. Basically as much visual sweet mod as we can get, including the parallax 2 and black racks. So we want to make this as visually stunning as possible to make it worth being in third person. Come on, we gotta reign the championship, right, guys? And with that, our first launch comes to a close. But we've got plenty of work left to do. So now we have some science, 16.2, so we can go ahead and start unlocking things. Very importantly, we need to get parachutes as soon as possible, but this one right here will give us 2 new experiments, the barometer and the onboard camera, as well as a better antenna, which will be good. Unfortunately, we don't have enough science to unlock survivability, which is crucial for returning our vessel safely to the ground, which will be able to get us more science. We do want to deal with planes in this. That's going to be a good way of getting funds by completing contracts, as well as getting science in various areas. So we're going to want to focus some of our science on unlocking that. It'd be cool to have some decouplers that'll make our rockets go higher because we have different stages, as well as needing to unlock better engines. We're playing with unkerballed start, so it's actually going to be quite a bit before we even unlock the swivel engine, so we need to focus on putting our science into that as well. We've got quite a bit in our contract list, but not very much that we can really achieve right now. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to orbit in this episode. We just, like I mentioned about the engines, we're just not capable. So we're going to have to focus on some other stuff, like this build and fly your first airplane. That's going to be a contract that will be good. It'll be pretty easy money. We don't even have to land the thing. We just have to take off. So we'll grab that, but not yet. We can only afford 2 contracts. So we're going to grab the escape the atmosphere and reach the stars. Both of them just require us to break the Karman line. So back in the VIB, we do have access to a decoupler based from the Corvus mod. However, I feel like that's because it's from such a specific mod and it's meant specifically for the Corvus capsule. I don't feel like it's really fair to use that. So we're not going to. We're going to have no decouplers on this because we don't have the science available for it. So unfortunate, but fair. So, you know, after all, we want to win this space race, but if we do it unfairly, then, you know, is it really a win at all? So let's go ahead and get our stuff on action groups. However, after recording this and after doing the editing, I'm thinking I may rely less on action groups, especially, or maybe specifically, when I can see them on the outside. We should work with the pop-up windows. But anyways, here we are on the launch pad, once again, ready to launch, hoping to break the Karman line. But either way, we're going to also try to get science from the upper atmosphere. We haven't run any simulations on this. I just kind of made the assumptions that that we would be good. Again, no parachutes on this, so keeping the experiments is kind of negligible because we're not going to be able to recover. It's probably going to just explode on impact. But there's no need to transmit the science, even though it's science we don't have yet. There's no need to transmit it because I would much rather transmit the science from a higher altitude, as that is a higher number of science. So we're going to try to transmit that. We can always get low in atmosphere science from an airplane, so I'm not too worried about that. And I don't think we broke the atmosphere. As you can see, we're already at our apoapsis at 21 kilometers, and so that is about as high as we're going to go. But we are in high space right there, so we're not high space. We are in the upper atmosphere, so transmitting is good. We have a little bit of battery left, and so we can come here over to one of our experiments and see if we can't transmit any of the stuff from the previous biome. So we have this one here, but at 33% of the data transmitted, we ran out of battery, so unfortunately that is all we can do. So now, because there's no parachutes, there is nothing left to do except watch it come home. Thankfully, we're not going to bombard the KSC. It traveled enough of a distance. It's funny, since the rocket traveled straight up, this distance that it covered from the KSC launch pad is essentially the amount of rotation of the planet. A little bit of drift on the rocket's part, but that's what happens when the planet rotates below you. And then just like that, we just safely bonk onto the surface. Before I even know it, I'm flabbergasted at this, but such a beautiful sight to see a fully intact rocket just meters away from the KSC. But I bring up the cheat menu because I just want to check. I just wanted to make sure, hey, I didn't have Unbreakable on by any random chance, right? But nope, no cheats on. That's just how it happens sometimes. But we got a bit of science from that because we were able to recover it. I wasn't expecting us to, so we got more than we had expected. So now let's go ahead and unlock survivability. These two parachutes alone will revolutionize our flights now, as we can not only recover the science, as I mentioned, but we can recover Kerbals. And when we go and deal with planes, we have the access, the ability to have emergency landings with those parachutes as well. We're going to grab the fabrication due to the radial decouplers. And then we're going to just pick up some of the smaller pieces. I have these launch pads. I'm not sure what mod they're from, but we may end up utilizing them later once we have bigger crafts. But I'm not experienced in them, so if you've used that mod or you know which mod that is from and you have any tips and tricks, let me know. But anyways, let's hop back into the VAB. We're gonna pop on some radial decouplers here and just triple up the SRB as well as the batteries, so we can get higher and transmit more science for longer. We're adding another thermometer on there to grab in space, and our parachutes. So without further ado, let's try to break that Karman line. We are launching from the desert today because we were able to grab a little bit of extra science from the launch pad since we hadn't been here before. And in this early game, science is the best way to pull ahead. We haven't even ended the first day yet, but we need to keep in mind that this is a race. This isn't just a series. This isn't just, KXP Season 2. This is the Janus project. We gotta do better than those first-person IVA players who, just sit in the command room, not enjoying the beautiful world around them. Like, look at this. Look at those clouds. Look at this separation. How can you say no to that? But anyways, we are now on our final stage SRB. We're just going to burn up as much as possible, and hopefully our apoapsis breaks the 70 kilometers, which should be pretty easy. And when it breaks the 70 kilometers, we'll have access to brand new science. We don't have the tracking station upgraded, nor did we put the Kerbal Engineer chip on here, so we don't know what our apoapsis is going to be. So all we can do is time warp. We got a quick peek that our contract has been completed, so we are now on our way up. Our apoapsis ended up being somewhere around like 100 kilometers there, so we did get some good science from that. And now all that's left to do is come back down, and hopefully we won't explode from our heating. We did add a heating reentry effects mod. I can't remember the name of it, but it will be in the description in the mod list below in a Google Drive document. I'm going to keep the same mod list for KXP POV as well. So it's going to be the same mod list on both sides. So for both series, you can check that out. If you decide to add those mods or follow along with it, just please read the disclaimer and mod at your own risk. Look at that. Got a storm over there off in the distance. Nice cloudy day here at the desert launch site. I'm gonna pierce through, and I'm hitting the space bar, but for some reason our parachutes are not popping. They are not responsive in the slightest. Oof, ominous. And I can see in the top left that we actually have no connection, so nothing we can do but watch it hit. Fortunately, though, it was only the Probodobodine that exploded. Everything else is still intact, and it still has the science. So we're going to go to the tracking station and recover it, and that'll be good. Look at that, 48 science from that trip. That would have been awful if we just lost all of that on impact. And so I feel like this playthrough is a little blessed. We're a little lucky right now. Let's go ahead and get our way towards more science experiments, because that's always a good option to invest in. But of course, we are going to want to focus on what we're going to do with the rest of our time in this episode, which is going to be a plane mission. So we're going to want to make sure that we have good enough quality engines and plane parts and all sorts of stuff. Looking at basic construction, that's going to be good as well. All these early nodes, everything is like, well, that's good, that's necessary. Oh, well, that's necessary too. General rocketry will be good. We'll get better SRBs. But for now, we're going to go ahead and pick up early aviation and probably stability too, because that gives us our first crewed vessel. We have the ASET reentry module, as well as the EVA seat. I can't remember the name of it. The ECS. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and unlock that, because we're going to want to put a Kerbal into space next episode if we can. If we can beat the POV into space, that would be even better. But for now, we're going to beat them in flight. So let's go ahead and get our last bit of science. We're going to grab that construction. And we have some money. I'd like to upgrade mission control, because then we can now take more contracts, which will be great. And we have the ability of upgrading the tracking station, which will give us maneuver nodes, but it's a lot of money, and that would take basically all our money. So we're going to upgrade the launch pad instead. And then we're going to hop into mission control. Now, a lot of our missions right now are orbits. So orbit a probe, return it home, get a probe into orbit, as well as the classic orbit Karman and orbit Karman. So, but we're going to grab this build and fly your first airplane, because that is what we're going to do now. However, we're going to also grab the orbit contracts, because that's what we're going to do in the next episode. Unfortunately, we can only grab 3 of the orbits because we have a max on the exceptional contract. So, but we are going to grab this pointed dish out from Karman because once we do get a probe up there, might as well put a dish on it, right? But as you see now, after accepting all those contracts and getting our bonus, we now can upgrade the tracking station. So it all worked out in the end. So anyways, here is our parameters for building the airplane. We can't have any solid fuel, liquid fuel engines, or solid fuel or oxidizer. It has to be an actual plane, not an X-plane. So yeah, so we're gonna go use these propellers. I forget which mod this is from, but it's one of the airplane mods, and we're gonna use these propellers and make a prop plane. Nothing fancy, nothing different than anything I've really ever done before, so we can just kind of blow through it quickly. We're putting on tail fins. We're going to work on that first, then we're going to put on the side fins, put on the control surfaces, go for the wing, the wheels, make it an actual plane first, and then we'll throw some science on there and call it a day. Well, I guess we put the science on before the wheels. We are going to put on a bathymetry data experiment. That's from D-Magic's Orbital Science, but that is a water-based experiment. So I think we're going to get the science from the runway. We're going to take off and launch to satisfy the contract. We're going to get the science in the space, the air above that. And then we're going to land this, hopefully pretty safely, in the water and collect the science from there using that bathymetry. So 3 sets of experiments in total. Let's put them on the action groups. But like I mentioned before, maybe I will try to rely less on action groups because that will actually... with the POV guys, they have to rely on action groups. They don't have the ability of clicking on the experiments and opening the windows, and so maybe because of the fact that we have that ability, we should stick to that. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know how you're enjoying this series. Which one you have more faith? Oh, real fast. Parallax 2 adds collision to a lot more objects. So previously we'd be able to fly straight through those trees, but now we got to be a lot more careful. But anyways, let's go ahead and finish up this plane. We're going to throw on some Communitron 16s onto the wing so we can transmit our crew reports. And lastly, we're going to add some control to all the surfaces. But that is it. We've got the prop plate 1. Let's go ahead and get on the runway and up in the air. Our pilot today, when last Karman, first Kerbal in any kind of capacity to do anything in our program, and she has successfully lifted off from the ground, achieved flight and stability, has total control of her vehicle, and has now earned the milestone of first in flight. So let's go ahead and do the science flying at Karman. Collect all of those things. We're going to transmit our crew report and keep everything else. So now our contract is completed. So now all we got to do, it doesn't require us to land safely, but of course we are going to keep our Kerbal alive by landing safely. So let's go ahead and find a nice place to slow down and land. We have parachutes, so we're not without the ability of slowing down that way. But let's go ahead and do some banking maneuvers to kind of bleed off some of that speed. We are coming down a little fast, so let's pull up. Let's go ahead and stage our parachutes. Actually, before that, we're gonna shut down our throttle. I realized even though we had our throttle at 0, our engine was still running, which was giving us some sort of propulsion. But with that, we have safely touched down in the water. Wenlis may have hit her head a little bit on the steering wheel, or the joystick, but nonetheless, alive and well. Gave us 49.8 science, which is magnificent. And we are using the Final Frontier mod because it is fully updated now and usable, so I'm loving that, because our Kerbals will get little badges of honor for their milestones. But yeah, I'm excited about that. But let's go ahead and hop into the R&D and just kind of check out what we can get. We are, of course, going to want general rocketry, because that leads into advanced rocketry, which is where we get our first kind of in-space vacuum engines. So we're going to go ahead and grab that as well. That only leaves us with 5 science, but that's okay. We're going to just unlock some of these little 1-point pieces and call it a day. But in the next episode, we are going to work on trying to get ourselves orbital. So having those better engines right off the bat is going to be good for us. But for now, this is where we are going to call our first day. I believe that was a major success. And we are going to toss the ball over to the KSP POV people. And on Monday, you'll get to see their episode 1 of the Janus project as well, as we push forward on our goal to plant a flag on every celestial body. So let us know what you think of this episode and the project. Let us know which side you favor more. Here are our milestones achieved. We're going to put these at the end of the episode for anyone who achieved any. But anyways, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more KXP. If you did consider joining our channel members, think about subscribing. Drop me a like, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.